Welcome to day 3, and we're leaving our day 2 campsite. We've got everything all packed up and ready to go pretty early in the morning, and it's time to hit the road. So we had a pretty good night here at this campsite, and as I mentioned previously, we really like this place. It's quiet, peaceful, very out of the way, and we'd love to come back here. It was a really nice site, especially since we had the whole thing to ourselves. It was really fantastic. We slept pretty comfortably, overall. It got pretty chilly last night, but our sleeping bag and our mat once again did us well. The one thing we did learn, though, is that our tent is not necessarily up to the task of camping this far north, this early in the season. And if we did this again, we would probably need to get a different tent. The one we have now is a Alps Mountaineering Aries 3, and it's a nice tent. I mean, it sets up easy, it packs really small, and it's light. But it's mostly, other than the fly, it's mostly mesh. And because of that, it ventilates a lot of air, and it never really builds up any internal heat like a four-season tent would if you had all the mesh closed up. For camping trips that we normally do, when we take, the boat or car camping or whatever, we have a Cabela's four-season tent, and it's a completely different type of an experience as far as how warm it would stay at night. And as soon as you got out of our sleeping bag, you were pretty much freezing. Even with, with pants and a jacket, you were cold, and there was no getting out of it, which is kind of what it was. So, we've learned, and we definitely at some point will, if we do, a trip this far north this time of the year, we will need a different tent. And that's something that's kind of weighing on our minds as we leave this site, because we're going further north, and the weather reports we're seeing it's going to be even colder at night, and we're trying to figure out what our best course of action is here. Do we spend another night outside in the cold like this, or do we think about renting a hotel room or something along those lines? And we make that decision a little bit later in the day. But for now, we just want to get on the road and get going. As you can see from this little bit of footage here, this is the road up the mountain. You're pretty far away from where the actual farm is, so we're pulling into the actual farm area now. And we're a pretty good ways away from it, so it's quite secluded. And other than farms, there really isn't much out here to begin with. So you're pretty much really off the beaten path, and we really liked it. It was really, really good. So the riding today is much like it was yesterday. A lot of dirt roads and a lot of farmland. We're really enjoying it a lot, and so far it's been a really great trip. So just one other note, I actually had us both wired with microphones and voice recorders and all that, and having some trouble with them. Mine didn't record a thing today, so I had no audio, and she did, but any conversation we had back and forth or anything like that would make no sense because it's only got one person. So don't really have much of that to share, and it's kind of growing pains and learning. This is the first trip I've really ever recorded like this, so not sure where we went wrong, but somehow my microphone just decided it didn't want to work today. So we're coming up on our first stop of the day. We needed some fuel, so we decided to stop at this big Irving station in Berlin, Vermont, which is just off of Route 89. And we figured while we were here, since it was close to lunch, we'd check out what they have inside for options to grab something to eat. And we found they have a little food court area inside that makes all sorts of kind of fresh items like salads, and they can get sandwiches and burgers and pizza and breakfast items and stuff like that. So we figured this was a good place to stop for lunch while we were here. The thing on the menu that really stood out to us that we had to have was poutine. That's what we decided to get. We've had poutine, all sorts of places in Maine and New Hampshire and stuff like that, but we've never had it at a gas station. So the sheer novelty of it, we just had to have some. And never this close to the Canadian border, which is where it comes from. So we figured we'd give it a shot while we were here. And it actually was surprisingly good. Believe it or not. You wouldn't think something that came from a gas station food court would be that good. This was pretty good, and we really enjoyed it. So we had a little downtime. We also hit the gas station convenience store up for some drinks and also some snacks for the road. Like we got some cheese sticks and chips and some things like that, just to take with us for the road. And that was pretty much it. It was we stopped here for about probably 45 minutes and got back on the road. our second stop of the day. We found this little kind of pull-off area that happened to be right next to a little river, and we figured it was a good place to stop and stretch and grab some water and go down and see the river, stuff like that. And so that's what we did. This is some pictures of the river here, and it was just a kind of small little, seemed to be swift-moving little river, and it was a nice place to stop, just kind of off the side of the road. And we spent probably 20 minutes here just to kind of stretch and get ready to keep on moving on. So now we're heading towards our third stop of the day, and we're now in Eden, Vermont, which is pretty far up north, and we're actually stopping to visit a friend of Jen's who she used to work with. So our original planned route took us just a couple of miles from his house, and when we were planning our trip, we figured let's stop in and pay him a visit. She hasn't seen him in a couple of years. So we're now pulling into his driveway, and we've got a little situation with this calf here that is blocking the road, and his mother is none too happy that we're there. She's making a absolute beeline towards us. Thankfully, he got back in the fenced-in area, and we didn't have any sort of problem here. But now we're pulling up actually into his kind of near where his house is, and he's got a heck of a piece of property here. He's right on the side of a mountain, just has an absolutely beautiful view, and pretty impressed by the space he's got. It's really nice. And yeah, we had a good visit. We visited him and his dog Duke, and I played with Duke quite a bit. He loves to play frisbee, which is great, and we had a good time doing that. He's also very friendly, very people-oriented doggy, so we had a good time there. And Jen had a good visit. They had a lot to catch up on, and we ended up spending, all told, over 2 hours here, probably like 2.5 hours. We weren't originally intending to stay that long. We had planned we planned about an hour, but how things go. We ended up staying longer, and it was what it was. From here, we got back on the road and started heading towards Derby. We did have to make a slight change of plans on our way to Derby because we spent a little more time here than we had originally budgeted for. So we ended up doing a little bit more road on the way to Derby from here. And that's where we leave off. It's on our way to Derby. So here we are pulling into what should be our day 3 campsite. This is a lavender farm in Derby Line, Vermont. And after talking with the owner of the farm, we decided not to stay here tonight. And the reason is the weather forecast was for really cold temps. So we were looking at low 30s, right down around freezing. And from what the owner told us, she said that where the campsites are situated, it gets extremely windy. And with our tent, I think we would have been cold. There would have been no protection really from the wind with all the ventilation in our tent. So we decided that we were going to go find a place to stay. We did visit her lavender shop that she has right here in this building, and Jen spent a bunch of money and filled our bags full of all sorts of lavender things that she really wanted. So, we ended up, I think she ended up spending a couple $100 here on lavender stuff, which was good, and made it worth coming all the way here. And we just decided that we didn't want to camp out, so we went and found a hotel. From here, we left and we went into Derby Line, Vermont, and made it all the way to the Canadian border, which I don't have any film of. Once again, the batteries died, and I didn't replace them, so we didn't have any more footage. We made it to, through the there's a road that runs right parallel to the Canadian border, and we rode along that road, and you ride by a customs stop and all that. We rode by that, and then we started looking for a place to stay, and we found a bed and breakfast here in Derby Line, and they had a restaurant attached to it. We figured, let's see if they have a room, because this could be everything we need: a place to stay, a place to eat, and we can get back on the road in the morning. Unfortunately, they didn't have any rooms for us. The person running the desk told us that a biker gang had rented all the rooms, and they were completely booked. So we had to move on and look for another place. So we headed into Newport, Vermont, and found a room at the Newport City Inn and Suites, which from the outside kind of looks like an old school motel, where the doors face the parking lot, and there's like 2 stories. But they actually have a back area that is more traditional hotel. And we had a really nice room. That's actually where she ended up putting us, and we had a really good room there. Most importantly, it had heat and a hot shower. Like, those are the 2 things that we were so looking forward to, and it had them both. We did have to venture out and find some food to eat. We didn't want to cook one of our freeze-dried meals in the parking lot, so we decided that it was we're going to go out and hit a restaurant. So we found quite a few restaurant options here in Newport, and we ended up deciding on a place called the East Side Restaurant Pub, which is situated right on Lake Manfred-Magog. And it was close to where we were staying, so we figured it would work out perfectly. This restaurant was outstanding, and I would go back here in a heartbeat. We ended up, for an appetizer, we ended up having more poutine, or as we learned while we were in the restaurant, it's actually pronounced poutine. And that's how they pronounce it in Canada. So this was probably the best poutine that I've ever had, and I think Jen concurs. The gravy was like just out of sight. It's like it was made with steak drippings. I mean, it was ridiculous. And fresh cut French fries and fresh locally made cheese curds. It was awesome. I would come back here just for that. It was that good. For meals, I had a cheeseburger, and I will say it might be one of the best cheeseburgers I've ever had in my life too. The beef was locally sourced, grass-fed, ground beef. It was unbelievably good. Locally made cheese, and this locally made maple barbecue sauce that was so good. I want to buy a gallon of it. Like, I'm gonna go someday. We'll go back to this restaurant and I'm gonna ask them where they get it because it was incredible, and I want to go buy some and put it on barbecue. Jen had a warm seafood salad. She really liked her meal as well, and like I said, overall this restaurant was outstanding. It for sitting in the pub area and having basic kind of pub food, it was really good food. Like, I can't get over how good this place was. Compared to the restaurants we have here back home in Massachusetts, we don't have anything where I live in Metro Boston that even comes close to how good this place was for like burgers and stuff like that. Nothing's even close. Once we got done with dinner, Jen decided she needed a couple of truffles for dessert, so she went into the gift shop and bought some truffles. And then we had to figure out how to get the truffles back to the hotel room because we took all the bags off and they were all in the hotel room, so we had no luggage. I decided to just kind of strap it to the front rack with one of the straps, and they made it back, so all good there. And we kind of retired to our hotel room, took showers, and went to bed. We were exhausted. We had a pretty long day, and got ready to go for day 4.